This is the 20th annual Explore Oregon event hosted by the Willamette Valley Miata Club. This year's gathering was centered around the coastal dairy town of Tillamook. The event has historically drawn people from up and down the west coast of North America, with participants coming from as far south as San Diego and as far north as Vancouver Island in Canada. The event usually lasts a few days with drives on Friday and Saturday. Each year the hosts curate a fine selection of fantastic twisty back roads. While official events start on Thursday evening with a welcome dinner, many start the fun early with the drive down to the host location. About half of the Club Miata Northwest contingent met in Cathlemet in Washington Thursday afternoon. The weather was great with warm sunny blue skies. All of us had the tops down heading westward on Highway 4. At the mouth of the Columbia River we turned on to Highway 101 to cross the 3.5-mile-long bridge into Astoria, Oregon. As we approached Cannon Beach we cut inland into the forest coastal foothills where we took one of our favorite twisty roads down to Tillamook. This is one of the favorites on Zeke's Oregon and Santee drives. It has some utterly delicious banked hairpins that go on for miles, but the road is rough. Fortunately, the Miatas soak up the bumps and ask for more as we dart from corner to corner. We followed the Miami River as it meandered through a pastoral inland valley. This would bring us to Garibaldi on the northern edge of Tillamook Bay. A short drive south on Highway 101 from there and we would reach Tillamook in the late afternoon sun. After checking into the hotel in Tillamook, we all gathered at the officers' mess at the historic Tillamook airfield for the welcome dinner. This was our chance for a meet and greet with other Miata faithful and to sign up for different drives over the next couple of days. All told there were over 80 Miatas with almost twice that number of attendees. It was a great turnout. For the Friday drive, we lined up in grid about 8:30 a.m. to gather round for a driver's meeting. The run leader gave us an outline for the drive, we made sure we're all on the same radio frequency for our comms, and then got going. Today we'd run the Jewell Olney drive, taking backroads from Tillamook up to the Jewell Meadow Wildlife Area, and then through Olney to Astoria and back. The start of this route retraced our path to Tillamook from yesterday. But that was more than delightful for the Club Miata Northwest crew, as it meant we got to drive these fantastic roads again. The first leg cruised along the mirror-smooth waters of Tillamook Bay before turning off Highway 101 and following the Miami River Valley northward. Along the way, pastures and farm buildings popped into view as the road skirted the edge of the valley floor. These sites alternated with lush alder, maple, and conifer trees overhanging the road. Periodically the Miami River would sidle up next to us only to meander away a moment later. Seeing the pack of Miatas stretched out in front on these twisty roads reminds me of a roller coaster. And it's just as much fun with the tight banked turns and the dips and weaves over the subtle elevation changes. This is one of our favorite roads from Zeke's Oregon Insanity Drives. It cuts through the forest on one of the tightest, hairpiniest stretches of road I've been on. And it just goes on and on for miles. The tough part is it's a rough road with a fair amount of settling pavement. But the Miatas just soak it up and ask for more. I've always liked this odd little loop-de-loop connector as we leave Highway 26 and head north toward Jewell. The stop sign at the bottom is only for traffic turning left. Right-hand traffic need not stop. And then to just loop under the bridge with its wonderful concrete archways? I'm a simple guy and simple things amuse me. These roads cut through working forests and big lumbering timber trucks hunt these woods. Their bulks imposing on the narrow lanes, particularly when they suddenly appear around a corner. Like a lot of the roads in the northwest corner of Oregon, this one flashes past grassy meadows and small pastures tucked in amongst the trees. The route ducks and dodges through the forested hills, and I like how the road feels small and tight under the tree canopy. Driving our Miatas with the top down is such an engaging experience. Beyond simply rolling down the window in a regular car, you're connected with the environment all around as all manner of scents and smells greet you. Whether it's the smell of cut hay or the earthy scent of a lush grove of trees, it's just fantastic. Aromatherapy of the automotive variety, although, occasionally, you do drive past a rather pungent farm or barnyard which can sometimes be eye-watering. After an hour and a half we pulled into the Jewell Meadows wildlife area for a stretch break. While some attended to business, others could talk Miatas and car stuff while seeing if we could spot any elk. Before long we were in the Miatas again and zipping down the road toward Astoria. The morning started out with blue skies in Tillamook, but it didn't last long. There was no rain and the temperatures were pleasant, it was simply overcast. This would be a theme throughout the weekend, with very local weather patterns having wildly different weather conditions. No rain but a mix of blue skies or gray cloud cover. I ended up liking this stretch from Jewell to Astoria a lot. It's not as tight and twisty as some of the other roads, but it had a great flow to it, punctuated by fantastic groups of banked hairpins here and there. My favorite sections were where we were going through a tunnel of trees as the leafy canopy from either side of the road closed together above us. The other great thing was absence of slow drivers. We had no one in front of us until the outskirts of Astoria, and it was glorious. As we approached Astoria, the view opened up as the road dropped down along the banks of the Youngs River Delta. It was getting close to lunchtime, but first we'd head up to the Astoria Column on the crest of the hill above town. In all the times I've come through Astoria over the decades, my family and I never really stopped to look around. This was the first time I've been up here, and it's pretty cool. The view is spectacular, and we could see the Astoria Bridge we came across the day before. There were steps. Many, many steps, that rise up through the column to an observation deck at the top.
Astoria over here in the background. The iconic bridge. Looks like Jay made it too. Us geezers making it to the top.
With our cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see my car. It's the red one. The Astoria Column was the apex of Friday's drive. From there, we stopped for lunch at Fultano's Pizza before the return drive to Tillamook. After lunch, we backtracked a short ways down the Nehalem Highway and crossed to the south side of the river. The back roads through the Youngs River Delta wove among more pastures and fields and skirted along the delta's smaller tributaries and waterways. This was mostly flat, low-lying terrain. But the route did climb over a forested low rise as we came into Seaside, where we'd hop on the 101 southbound. Fortune smiled on us for most of this section with a clear road in front of us. It wasn't until the last mile or two from Seaside where our group got stuck behind a slow-moving Prius. And by slow-moving, we're talking below the speed limit. Given the twisty nature of the road, however, passing wouldn't have been safe, particularly for such a large group. We took the morning's roads all the way back into Tillamook from Seaside. We missed the coastal beach route, but we also avoided a lot of traffic and small coastal towns. Plus we got to drive those super twisty roads again. By the time we reached Garibaldi on Tillamook Bay, the cloud cover cleared up and we had a pleasant afternoon under clear sunny skies. From there, the group split up with folks heading off to do their own thing for the rest of the evening. For our part, Jenny and I went exploring out to the coast west of Tillamook. First down to Cape Lookout State Park. Then coming back through the small hamlets of Neatarts and Oceanside, and on north to the Cape Meares Lighthouse. The skies were growing darker and more ominous as we reached the lighthouse at dusk, but the views were great. Still no rain, and the weather was pleasantly warm enough to keep the top down. As night fell, we came back into Tillamook. The next morning, Saturday, we started out on the Bible Creek Drive. Like the day before, we met in grid in the hotel parking lot, verified comms at the driver's meeting, and then headed out. This time south to the town of Beaver, then east along the Nestucca River Valley. The pavement rolled past small farm fields planted with crops before tightening up as the valley narrowed further up into the hills. The weather inland was much more predictable with cloudless blue skies and warm sunshine. Much of the drive along the Nestucca River had a nice mellow rolling flow to it that made a pleasant start for the day's drive. Occasionally you'd see cars pulled off to the side and people fishing along the banks of the river. When we turned on to the Bible Creek Road, the pavement narrowed to a single wide lane and gave up the center marking. The pavement got rough and bumpy, and the turns started coming fast and tight. The flickering sun shining through the trees made it difficult to see the road at times. It made for an exciting drive, particularly with the occasional oncoming traffic. The lead drivers would call out on the radios to give us a heads up on road conditions. This section went on for miles before finally bursting out into a clear cut. From here the route started dropping down in elevation as we descended Bald Mountain. The elevation drops, mixed with the twisties, felt like being on a roller coaster. There were so many twists and turns with one road merging into others that I had no idea where we were. Zero clue. None. Nada. I'm glad the lead drivers knew where we were going. It was a fun game of follow the leader as the roads felt like they tumbled out of the hills heading south to the town of Willamina, where we stopped for lunch at the Wildwood Hotel, an old boarding house from the town's early pioneer days. On the drive back to the coast we had to stop for a few minutes at a road closure. It turns out someone ditched an Audi. And now the wrecker was on site trying to get the car out of the ditch. We were back along the Nestucca River as we approached Pacific City. Before reaching the town proper, we cut right and crossed the river to loop north. The sunny weather started getting cloudy and we would soon find ourselves in a cloud bank. The localized weather patterns on this stretch of coast were something else. 1 minute sun, the next clouds. It was just plain weird. See? This was 5 minutes later. Just weird. And 5 minutes after that, the sun was out again when we pulled in for a stretch break. One of these is not like the others. Oh dear Lord. Why? Ooh, slow driver. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Back to the Twisties now. By early afternoon, we were coming back into Neat Arts in Oceanside where Jenny, my mother-in-law, and I went exploring the night before. The weather was still being weird, changing rapidly from cloudy back to sunny again. In any case, these small coastal hamlets are cute to drive through, looking at all the houses perched on the hillside above the beach. The Bible Creek Loop Drive ended by coming back into town along the western shore of Tillamook Bay. We'd have a few hours of downtime before everyone gathered later that evening for a banquet dinner at the officers' mess back at the airfield. The dinner basically concluded the 20th Explore Oregon event. This was the third one I've attended and I had a great time just like the previous 2 times. This is an awesome corner of Oregon with some great driving roads and scenery. I want to give a big shout out, and heartfelt thank you, to Chris and all the great folks at the Willamette Valley Miata Club for hosting this event. It takes a huge effort to organize something like this, from lodging, to catering, to route planning, and everything that goes into it. It was a fantastic weekend. Thank you.